I always have fun with Itel devices, and this Itel City100 is no exception. The reason I have fun is that they always come up with interesting recipes for their smartphones. This phone is selling for just $110 US, so definitely a device that requires extreme craftiness to squeeze as much value out of a shoestring budget. Let's see how well they pull this one off. They didn't cut corners on design. It's a clean and handsome looking smartphone adorned with flat edges, something that is currently in season, and a pleasant matte finish on the back that does a pretty good job of hiding fingerprints. It's also got a camera island housing a flash and 3 square looking circles. The top one is where you find the 13 megapixel main camera. The middle one looks like a camera, but it's an interesting feature I'll talk about in a moment. And the bottom one is just for the plot. On the right edge, you get the volume buttons and a power button with a built-in fingerprint scanner. The bottom is pretty crowded with the headphone jack, the microphone, the USB-C port, and the loudspeaker. Your SIM tray is on the left, and it's got all the options, a dual SIM and SD card slot. For the eagle-eyed, there is also a red rubber ring on the SIM tray. Itel and Tecno devices have had this rubber ring on their devices for a long time, but this is one of the first devices Itel has sold with an official water resistance rating, IP64, which is good enough for light splashes, showers, nothing too crazy. Up front, it's also got a decent 6.75-inch display that gets reasonably bright. Resolution is stretched a bit thin for pixel peepers like me at HD+, but for the majority of you won't really notice anyways. Up top is a notch cutout with an 8 megapixel selfie camera, which is kept company by a dedicated selfie flash. On to the fun stuff. Check out these gems I dug out whilst playing around with the City100. Starting with the back, that middle camera circle has an IR blaster, which gives this Itel the ability to control most appliances that use a remote. So as long as the appliance exists on the list of supported devices, you'll be able to control it. I like this one a lot, and it was one of my highlight features when I was using Huawei flagship smartphones. I still prefer it on the top edge rather than on the back because it's more natural and doesn't attract attention when trying to adjust the AC at a conference. It also comes with an FM radio built in. You don't see these ones often in smartphones these days. It still uses a wired earphones or wired headphones as an antenna, so you'll have to have those plugged in to use this feature. Then we hop on to some interesting software bits. Itel, Tecno, Infinix, we're now all coming with in-house developed AI assistants. They definitely didn't stack up to the competition, so they instead baked ChatGPT into them, which did help a lot. On the City100, they switched to DeepSeek powering their custom AI, a move that I feel is likely due to it being a viable Chinese alternative that has no risk of being switched off at will. A risk they were sort of facing with the US-sourced ChatGPT. Also, DeepSeek might just be cheaper. It can perform basic controls offline, like setting alarms, controlling media volume, turning off the display, turning the flashlight on or off. Then for some of the more fancy stuff, you're going to need to connect to the internet. Once connected to the internet, it performs in a similar manner to the competition. An AI assistant shootout is coming soon. To make that shootout fun, I'd love you to list out stuff that you'd like me to ask these assistants in the comments, and well, we'll get to see which one does a better job in answering those. It's got a dynamic bar up top, and for now it's just limited to the face unlock animation, the call details with some quick controls, the voice recorder again with some quick actions, the charging animation with some deets on how fast you're charging, and music controls. Oh, and it also gets the always on display treatment, complete with quite a generous selection. One thing that has massively improved in my book is the smoothness of these animations. Back in the day, the fancy ones with a lot of complications felt laggy, but here, very smooth. You also get a huge standby clock when the phone is charging and in landscape mode, similar to the iPhone standby. The general performance of the Itel City100 is pretty much what you'd expect from a device just over $100. It has had frequent moments where it's been lazy, yeah, such as unlocking the screen or opening and loading content on the Google Now page. One app that was consistently laggy when I launched it was the Ivana Assistant. It takes a bit of an eternity to actually fully present itself, so much so that the first time when I launched it, I thought it was not activated. So you're not buying this phone to push it to the limit running heavy apps or games or multitasking. It's perfectly happy taking a relaxed approach to life and looking quite handsome. Where it does gain some points is battery life. It's got a 5200 mAh battery that dropped to 79% after our endurance test. Medium to light use can push this battery deep into 2 days before needing a charger. And when you do need to charge it, you can top it up at a respectable 18 watts. It's a short list of phones, but regardless, the City100 currently takes the top spot for the best battery life among all the phones that we've had on the channel, and it's by a pretty decent margin. The camera has surprisingly good performance and good lighting. I genuinely got pleasing results, even in situations where the lighting was a bit harsh. It produced sharp, detailed photos, rich in color, and pleasing dynamic range. That 13 megapixel camera is doing an unbelievable job, considering that it's just 13 megapixels and it's in a $110 phone. Itel nailed the post-processing of photos from this camera. When you take the photo or video, what you see in the viewfinder is not as good as the final product that you see in the gallery. The color reproduction, the detail, the clarity, the exposure were all very impressive. Switching to video usually exposes a smartphone's weakness, especially if it's got a weak processor. But again, the level of detail and quality that I experienced with photos is the same that I got with videos. Colors were just very pleasing. It taps out at 1080p, but it's sharp and detailed 1080p. The results from this camera are surprisingly good. You actually forget the delay with the shutter button or the focus hunting when shooting videos. On their website, Itel writes licensed by Qualcomm and just ends there. They do not mention the specific technology they licensed from Qualcomm. I even dug into it as hard as I could and I couldn't find any internal components with a Qualcomm label. I might be wrong, but if there is any Qualcomm technology in the Itel City100, I am willing to bet it is camera related, because the camera in this $110 phone is producing images and videos I expect from a phone no less than $300. It's got to be a tough one to beat for on camera at this price range. Where the camera lost its superpower was in low light photos, which is a pretty common shortcoming for cameras in this price point. It's quick to lose the vibrant colors and detail, and because of the low pixel count of the sensor and its smaller size, it suffers from really bad graining and over sharpening in both photos and videos. It's a hard ask taking the City100 for a nighttime shoot, but in the daylight, brilliant. This is another power combo for Itel, always adding a spice of character to their devices, even with a shoestring budget. It's a handsome looking phone all round, with a reasonably bright display for its class and enhanced resistance to the elements or life's mishaps thanks to the IP64 water resistance, so 3.5 stars. Performance is a mixed bag. On one hand, the day-to-day user experience is a bit laggy, which can frustrate the restless TikTok binging youth, but the battery life is class leading and the cameras punch above their weight. 3 stars. Cameras were more than impressive in both photos and videos. Genuinely exemplary quality and detail, especially from a device in this price range. The only setback is low light shots, but even then, it's good enough to score 3.5 stars. It's got a couple of interesting bonus features that might be useful to some, like the built-in radio, the remote control feature thanks to an IR blaster, a usable always-on display, and a 360-degree flash. 3.5 stars. The price is pretty fair for what you get. A competent camera phone with a decent amount of storage, resistance to liquids, a long-lasting battery, solid 4 stars. The Itel City100 is one that you will get for someone who's looking for a phone that meets 3 criteria: low price, decent cameras, and a great battery life. That person will certainly have fun with it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.